Getting into the spookums. The events are simple and threefold. Each story occurs after waking up in the middle of the night, and each time I am incredibly groggy. Number 1. I woke up to the sound of very loud, very deep purring occurring somewhere near my head. Neither myself nor my fiance or our roommates at the time owned a cat. So no chance of creepy kitty, and it wasn't coming from my dog. I checked all televisions, computers, and phones in the room, and they were off. And even at loud volumes, we could barely hear what was happening downstairs. The purring was seemingly coming from above me, but I could not find a source. It went on for a few minutes before I willed myself back to sleep. I should note I was not having a nightmare or a dream of any kind before this. After 15 minutes, I know as I checked my phone both times, I woke up again, still hearing the loud, deep purring. I again found no source. My final thought before falling back asleep was, it's a giant spider, maybe it'll eat me, maybe it won't. Either way, I'd rather not be awake right now. To clarify, the noise sounded most definitely like a large cat. It was not rumbling, buzzing, or grumbling or anything other than purring. I sat up listening to it for a bit. The noise did not correct itself into anything besides purring. My mind just went to spider for some reason. If spiders purr, please don't tell me. I do not want to be accidentally correct. End of story 1.
It sounds like if somebody was like, and this is a purring spider, I'd be like, it sure is. That's real. That sounds real to me.
The second story. I woke up with a full-blown gust of chilly wind washing over me. My fiance and dog were both still asleep, so I was pretty sure I was just hallucinating. I sat up to find my dresser, a long, stout wooden dresser, had moved from the side of my bed to the foot of my bed. I stared at it for a while. As I did, I came to a conclusion. It was either a hallucination, a home invader, or a ghost. Home invader was unlikely as everyone else was still asleep.
I thought the ghost wasn't on the list.
I also didn't think the ghost was on the list.
Or it was a ghost.
Maybe it was number 5. Maybe that was the hidden number 5 and we couldn't see it because it was a ghost. I sat up to find my dresser, a long stout one had been moved. She stared at it a while, and home invader was unlikely as everyone else was still asleep. And if it was a ghost, it was either benevolent, malevolent, or neutral, or just redecorating. I mean, those are the only options. So yeah, I agree. If it was malevolent, I didn't want to be awake when it decided to kill me. If it was benevolent,
God damn.
If it was benevolent, well, hooray for me. If it was neutral, I should let it be. There were no noises, so it didn't care to talk to me. After a bit, I decided to go back to sleep. In the morning when I woke, the dresser was back in its original position. I did not tell my fiance about this until months later, as he is superstitious, with both Irish and Native American superstitions in his wheelhouse. He was displeased. He also confirmed he had not moved it, and we have a strict no gaslighting policy in our household. Honestly,
Solid
good policy for all households, I think, to adopt.
Yeah.
It's a very good policy. The dresser was heavy and awkward and made a bit of noise, so I tend to believe him. And I hate trickery, manipulation, sleight of hand, and especially magicians. Oh, dude, she must have hated the Greenstone episodes. She must have absolutely hated it.
Who did it? Am I right?
It was a 50-50 split in the fan base,
no
man.
Comment, no comment from me. You're my friend, so I got no. It was great.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me live in this world with the good steak.
It all makes me feel unsafe, and that's the end of story 2. The third story. I woke up with a full-blown gust of chilly wind washing over me again. Yes, just as I had before, although these two events were at least a year apart. Instead of my dresser moving or loud purring, I saw thick, black, swirling smoke twisting and spinning up by my legs and then disappearing upward. It was like a smoky black vortex or tornado, never more than 3 to 4 feet in height. After maybe a minute, it had completely vanished. It was just me and my dog on this night as my fiance was out camping. I did not feel any malevolence or eeriness, so once again, I just went back to sleep. I told him about it in a very abrasive way over the phone with little setup or context because that's how I enjoyed giving him information. End of story 3.
This is like the diary of a fan fiction demon hunter. This is crazy.
Really? Yeah.
I have so many questions about what exactly a fan fiction demon hunter is, because
It's
in
a
my
guy.
mind,
It's a real guy. He's real. He fights the demons from various fan fictions.
right? Okay, all right. I'm glad we're on the same page. All right, I thought you might have meant someone who writes fan fiction about it, but I'm glad we both agree this is clearly an actual person that hunts
Yeah,
fan
he's a
fiction
real
demons.
guy.
Right, right,
Demons that were made up in other people's fan fiction?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
It's a what? Okay. I like it.
Well, this is a woman in their 20s, but
Right.
in the Kickstarter game that uses all these people's fan fictions as the story, it's like a Dante type character.
Thank you for reading. If you'd like additional stories of intrigue, I have one where my great aunt predicted a man's death with palm reading.
This is a trailer?
One where my godchildren have apparently seen and talked to vestiges of their great-great-grandparents. My fiance had a poltergeist in his childhood home that loved to throw things. And my uncle has apparently been saved by a ghost him and my mom knew as children.
I swear to God, I thought you were about to say apparently saved by a ghost him. I was like, what?
Me too.
If my own self showed up, was like, stop. And then like a car almost hit me.
Would that be
I was
ghost
about to
or
be
would that
like,
be your
that's
time
the story. I would
That
love
needs to be
hear
story
that
number one.
Oh my God. And then
Ghost
the
him.
final,
Oh my God. All right. It's not nearly as cool as I thought it was going to be, but it's pretty all right.
it's pretty wild. And then the final one, also my dog cleared him once.
You are my mother.
The worst part is the other day I watched a video where it was like, my dog talked to me. And it's this woman talking to her dog, and the dog's like, and she's like, you want to go out? And he's like, she's like, you want to go out? And he's like,
Help me. I'm trapped in his body. I'm cursed. I have the brain of a man and the body of a dog.
Isn't there a
me out of
fucking
my
Gary
misery.
Busey film where he becomes a fucking dog?
Gary Busey?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. There's oh my God. We need
Gary
to watch
Busey
this
home movie
It's like
where he becomes
awful.
a dog.
or
Hang
we
on.
can just watch Talking Cat and call it a life.
Every good story has a good beginning. With Tinder, it starts with a swipe. It's a gateway to endless possibilities to connect. And it's fun. The more you like, the more you realize that there's a lot more out there waiting to be explored. Maybe you'll have a hilarious dating anecdote, or maybe you'll meet the love of your life. On Tinder, it starts with a swipe. Download Tinder today and explore all of the possibilities for yourself. Every good story has a good beginning. With Tinder, it starts with a swipe. It's a gateway to endless possibilities to connect. And it's fun. The more you like, the more you realize that there's a lot more out there waiting to be explored. Maybe you'll have a hilarious dating anecdote, or maybe you'll meet the love of your life. On Tinder, it starts with a swipe. Download Tinder today and explore all of the possibilities for yourself.
Shout outs to Allison Siki.
It's from 2003 and the movie is called Quigley. Quigley. Yes.
I'm out on that. I'm out on Quigley.
It's got Gary Busey. He's like a dad who neglects his kids, I think, like turns into a
What
dog.
about in the movie? What about in the
Something
movie,
like
though? I'm going to get like a letter from Gary Busey's attorneys. Be like, how dare you say that about our perfectly sane client, Gary Busey?
Oh God.
Signed Gary Busey, lawyer for Gary Busey.
P.S. If you want him on your podcast, it doesn't have a lot going on. So,
But we got to stop shit talking him. All right, last paragraph. If the supernatural paranormal isn't absolute hogwash, then please, I would love to talk to ghosts and work as a paranormal psychologist. Let's work through those issues and get you moving on. I would love to meet our alien neighbors, provided they have basic manners and consideration. I would love to walk dimensional planes and travel the great unknown. I would love to be an alien linguist. And I would love for the science fiction I attempt to write to be replaced by biographies of the poor, misunderstood supernatural bumps in the night. Feel free to read and share. Definitely, sincerely, definitely not a Robbit. Well, there you go. Robbit's 3 little encounters. I kind of want to know the dog called me mom one, just because I'm just curious how that day went.
she seems
and,
to
what
be
led up to it.
very, very clear on what she wants out of life. And I commend that.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse, this next one is going to be for you.
Oh my God. Okay. Why is this always all right? The lady at 2 a.m. It's always this. This is
That's
what
a
it always
Jesse
is.
story. What is this? Episode 69? Come on.
It's a short one. This is a short little ghost story. Take it
Vincent
away.
SK98 wrote
He loves his
in,
weapons.
The lady at 2 a.m. Hello, this is my first scary encounter. I'm 23 now and love the podcast. Did not love it
Hey.
before, but at 23, it really settles in. You really
does.
settle
That's
in.
when
Yeah.
that's when your brain really locks in on us.
Every time I hear a new minisode, I hear some of the stories, and I want to tell this one. I'm finally doing it. So, if this makes the show, great. If not, I hope whoever reads gets something from it.
Vincent, I have some great news.
Yeah, surprise, Vincent, you're in.
This story takes place about 2 years ago. I was at my ex's house. We were together at the time. I hope so, or else that would have been an awkward night.
I was watching her through the window.
I was stalking my ex at the time in San Diego. Me, my ex, her sister, and her sister's friend,
and my sister wife.
and her sister, go drinking at a bar. Her sister ends up getting really messed up, and we have to take her home. Her family was very unstable and always arguing. As soon as we arrived at the house, her mom starts yelling about how drunk she is, and it starts this huge argument between the sister and the mom. The mom takes. Yeah, this already, I'd be like, ooh, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm gonna go.
The mom takes her to her room and shuts the door. All you can hear is yelling and thrashing as the intoxicated sister throws things in the room. Me and my ex sat in the living room, probably just like,
Oh God. Ooh.
just talking about how crazy it's getting. We hear a knock at the door. Now, this is when it gets really weird. I open the door to see a short, chubby lady, looks old, with short brown hair and a pink coat.
I love the image of this woman already.
I'm imagining the like weird witch chick from Don't Look Now for
Yes.
some reason.
Yes. She has 3 dogs on leashes with her. Now, from the second I opened the door, an uneasy feeling set in, and it almost like the air got thicker. I said hello, and she asked if everything was okay. I explained it was just a drunk lady and nothing bad was happening and that we were taking care of it. She told me she was in the neighborhood. Oh, she was a neighborhood watch member at apartment 32C. And she was wondering if everything was okay. I assured her again that it was fine. Now, I might just be imagining it, but I don't remember seeing her blink or her dogs moving, almost as if they were fake.
Dude, imagine if it was just some old lady walking her taxidermy dogs. Just like
Those like
stiff on
invisible
leash.
dogs. Yeah.
As I go to shut the door,
women in pink.
As I go to shut the door, she tells me to wait. I stop and I got a chill down my spine and a pulse and I pulsar. It says, and I pulsar understand.
This isn't I pulsar, and I don't know what that meant.
Well, I pulsar understand why I was so uneasy.
Maybe I don't understand why I was so easy.
Possibly. At this point, my ex had joined me. She asked if she could come inside. My ex said no, it wasn't necessary, and the lady kept persisting that she come inside. My ex said that she was going to go get her mom. As she left, I turned to the lady and said, you should just leave. The lady replied with, you don't know how hard this is for me? I asked what, and she said, I just need to be welcomed in. Can you please welcome me in?
Hell no. Hell no. I would shut the door so fast.
Just the way she phrased it was creepy. At this point, I just shut the door and locked it. My ex came back and said her mom was occupied with the sister to come. She looked out the window and the lady was gone. Without saying anything to her about the vibe she gave me, my ex asked, didn't she give a weird vibe? And I told her she creeped me out. Anyway, I told her the apartment number she gave me, and we decided to scope it out the next morning. These apartments, small 2-bedroom houses very close to each other, had signs in front of them saying they were rentable and info to call or office hours. Hers had that sign, and my ex peeked through the window, and there was no furniture or anything. Could have just been some weird lady who happened to hear us, and it attracted her, but that night left me chilled. We got home around 1:30.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird little encounter, man. It reminds me a little bit of like black-eyed children encounters. Do you guys know like that kind of cryptid? Yeah, like that. Like, you got to let me in. You got to let me in. And she's like, hell no.
Have you seen this video? There's a video that's been going around this week. It was from Las Vegas, I think. And it is door camera footage of a guy with like a bag, like a plastic bag. And he looks, I don't want to say strung out, but he definitely has something weird about this guy. And he's knocking on the door and he's like, can I come in? Can I come in? And the person is saying, no, leave me alone. And he's like, come on, are you sure? I just want to talk. I just want to, like, that kind of stuff. And finally, the guy who was watching on the camera is like, hey, what are you doing? What do you want? And he's like, I just want to come in. I just want to kill the person who lives inside here. It's crazy.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's so, I guess the police were looking for this dude. I have no clue if they found him, but he was like, I just want to go in there and kill the person who lives here. And it's like, what?
Yeah,
that's scary.
They're out there. Kelly's cousin just had a dude, like, she like looked at her window and there was a dude just like looking in her window with his hands on the windows.
Worst fear.
So scary.
Fear. I wonder if the person, Vincent, if you're out there, I'm curious, what kind of dogs were they? Big or little dogs? That's all I'm curious about. Like, what kind of dogs was she walking? Because if she's short, if she was like a short woman, were they like little chihuahuas? Like, what kind of dogs was she walking?
Was she the bad guy from that one Harry Potter movie?
Were they floating muzzles with no actual and starched leashes?
Do they have little tiny red noses at the end? And they were actually cloth.
Amazing.
Were there 101 of them, and they make beautiful clothes?
Inbred Dalmatians. All right, this next one is all yours, Alex.
Giving a Demon a Tarot Reading by Boss Sarabus 19. Fresno, California has a strange energy about it.
Truth. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah, and some strange cryptids. If
you've ever lived there,
or if you've ever lived there or been cursed to drive through it, you might have felt a weird draw about the small city that tends to keep people trapped there. Many people I met in that place had similar stories. They had moved there for more interesting places and simply stayed. My own parents are currently there, 12 years on from this particular incident. We had moved to Fresno in 2007. I was between my sophomore and junior years of high school. Moving towns in the middle of your high school career is difficult, and I do not recommend it. I had very few friends at my new school, and the ones I had managed to make were ones with whom I had a swath of weird experiences. Shoutouts to the word swath. Which you just love to, just rolls right off the tongue, like putting a towel in your mouth. The friend in question, who I will call Violet, was someone who I met in a sociology class. We bonded over a shared love of Repo, the genetic opera, and the ubiquitous experience of flour-based childcare. And that's flour as in baking flour, not flour as in flowers. In our senior year, she met a guy and started dating, and one day in the summer, she invited me out to meet him. The night before the encounter, we were messaging each other on Facebook. She was giving me a general rundown on her boyfriend, such as his likes and interests. Then, as the evening wore on and I was getting ready to log off, remember when we did that, and go to bed, she sent one more message. By the way, he is the son of a demon.
Like, what?
Oh, boy. Oh,
it was
boy.
late. It was late, and at first I thought I was imagining the words on my screen. I didn't reply for a few moments, so she added, I mean it. Who's his father?
The fuck?
This is the type of thing when somebody says it when they're like, oh my God, getting here was such a piece of shit. And you're like, what happened?
Yep. Ask me more.
Who's his father? I typed back. He wants to tell you tomorrow, was her response. I realized that he might be with her at the moment, reading her messages over her shoulder. All I could say was, okay. Now, I thought it was a bit. Not that Violet had ever really joked about something like this before, but maybe her boyfriend had a funky sense of humor. I said my goodbyes and headed to bed, looking forward to what sort of character I'd meet the next day. Now, back then, I was big into reading tarot cards. I had 3 decks at the time, a fairy deck that another friend had given me, a Rider-Waite deck. This is the deck you think of when you think of tarot, and a Norse-themed one. I was trying to practice as much as possible, so I usually kept my Rider-Waite deck in my purse and took it with me everywhere I went. We met at an outdoor shopping mall in my neighborhood. I spotted Violet standing under the overhang of the Barnes & Noble, and at her side was a tall, slender young man clad in black leather.
Of course. Awesome. He's a hot topic
This
demon,
guy
dude.
is the fan fiction demon hunter.
He is. Oh my God. He's going to be hunted by that other
This is
other
a
author.
Chilluminati episode. CU. Fresno is home to a lot of punks, misfits, eccentrics, etc. So an older teen in all black was far from surprising. Violet introduced me to him. He had a very normal name. I'll call him James for privacy's sake, but his real name was just as normal. We decided to wander around the B&N, aka Barnes & Noble, making small talk as we browsed the shelves of the horror, fantasy, and manga sections. How did I know that those were the sections that you were
Right. Yeah.
you
That's
guys were going to?
exactly where I would picture them.
We passed down to the religion books. Violet was getting into Wicca at the time, and I was already part of a coven myself, so we both gravitated towards the witchcraft books.
These are the people I hung out with in high school.
Yeah.
Like I was wearing the shirt that said like, you laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at you because you're all the same. These are the exact crew
I used to
that
bring
was like,
my Monty Python DVDs to school, and we'd watch them after school.
sick.
Wow.
I gave her.
Wow. I do not relate to either of those at all.
What are you talking about? I'm sure you didn't do anything
I'm
nerdy.
the most basic bitch, period. I was like, I attended school, and my chums and I would have a few brews on the weekend where we'd watch the sports, and afterwards attend parties featuring various ladies,
parties.
of which we
Never
were
went to a
attempting to
party.
smooch at the time. And then I would go back to school and study as little as possible to pass my various tests in a course to college where I would go like I did.
Are you a lord of the court? Like,
I just
Do you
don't
have,
have any
like, a
like
small, like,
I don't have any
you have a
fun
horse?
stories. Like, you know, I'm like, I never went and like went to a graveyard in the middle of the night to go like commune with the dead. It never happened. I never did.
I never did any of that shit either. I ran the anime club.
I lived
I
in
would-
Buffytown.
oof.
My high school looked exactly like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was exactly that. So that show is 100% accurate.
I ran the anime. I think that was before I don't think we even had anime when I was a kid.
Oh my God.
What do you
I
mean
think
we
we had,
didn't have anime?
I'm saying like
It was like 1946.
That's what I'm saying though. I don't think anime was like in the. You know what? That's a lie. We had Sailor
There
Moon,
was like
but it was like
$75 DVDs of
That's what I'm
Trigun, right?
saying. Like back then, I was buying like in high school, I was buying VHSs where there was 2 episodes on each VHS, and it was $25 a pop.
Yeah, at least.
That's
Yeah.
you know, I realize now that it's all a lie. I just didn't do anything except play like Super Nintendo. That was my only personality. So I have
yes.
Super Nintendo and PlayStation. So everything else, like all the other things kids could have done, I did not do because I was like, bro.
Shout outs to Vagrant Story. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we both gravitated towards the witchcraft books. I gave her a couple recommendations, which I had read. And as she flicked through a Cunningham book, I turned to James. So you're a demon? He asked casually, as if the question hasn't been burning in my mind since we walked into the store. He chuckled. Yeah, sorta. Like a BioWare NPC, James dived right into his backstory.
Oh my God.
His father was a Marquis of Hell called Dracul, no relation to Dracula, he assured. This demon had fathered a number of unholy children on Earth through relations with human women in order to create generals for his army. James was to take his rightful place in his army once he had fully matured. I asked if he was in contact with his demon dad, and he says he was via some form of scrying. Violet picked out some volumes to buy. I thumbed through a tarot book as James told me his story, mostly to keep my hands busy as I listened. As I put the book down, James asked, Violet, did you say you read tarot? I nodded with a smile. Do you? I asked, figuring tarot was just as likely as anything else to be a demon child's hobby. Nah, I think it's bullshit, he said frankly. I won't lie, y'all. I had to fight back a bark of laughter.
I mean, I would, yeah. It's
The
some dude who
Marquis
believes
son,
the demon is telling
Marquis
you.
son said tarot's fake. Violet frowned at her boyfriend, however, and chided him for his rude tone. Sarabas is really good, she assured him. You should let her do a reading for you. I'm not really any kind of evangelist. I'm not out here to change people's minds about tarot or any other kind of divination, except maybe Jesse. If somebody else, if someone doesn't believe, I don't have much interest in reading for them. I expected James to dismiss the idea, but he agreed to do it. Violet bought her books, and we settled at an old rusted iron table on the porch of the attached Starbucks. I pulled my deck from my purse and shuffled the cards, keeping my gaze on them. Tarot cards are pretty big, and I have small hands, so I was prone to dropping them. I asked James what he wanted to know, if anything specific, or I could give him a general reading. He chose the general reading. I love how there's like little details that are just like in here that like are apropos of nothing, but I feel like they're going to come back later. Like, by the way, I drop cards. Like, You know,
Right.
like just little things
Little
here and there.
foreshadows.
Yeah. Now, the reading I gave him looked pretty mundane to me. In fact, I can't recall what cards I pull. I remember there being a noted female figure in his life, probably pulled a queen card or maybe the empress, and that he had a rocky relationship with a male figure in his life. He was quite silent as I read, not really giving me much in the way of response. Perhaps he was trying to thwart any cold reading I might be doing, which is totally fair. I've done similar to other readers. Even when you do believe in tarot, there are a lot of charlatans out there, so it's never a bad idea to give them as little as possible. The only real response I saw from him was a poignant glance to Violet once or twice. James waited until I had finished the reading and began to put the cards away. Violet asked what he thought, and he looked me dead in the eye and said he had never had such an accurate reading. I was quite flattered, demon or not. I wasn't very confident in my tarot skills, so to hear that was quite nice. Perhaps it was demonic flattery, or perhaps it was the words of a troubled young man whose feelings had never been validated. I couldn't tell you which. I never saw him again after that encounter. Violet continued to see him for about a year, but we never got much time to hang out. We went to different colleges. She went to Fresno Community while I went to a smaller community college in the nearby town of Clovis. We kept touch over Facebook, but I never saw her demonic boyfriend again. Fresno is a weird place. I had many odd encounters there, including dating a guy who believed with all sincerity that he was the Grim Reaper, being party to the creation of a magical entity. Why do these all have trailers? Being party to the creation of a magical entity, having a house haunted by a cowboy, and other fun things. Never saw the Fresno Nightcrawlers, though. I think they appeared the year I managed to leave the weird vortex of the Central Valley. I did tell my mom about them, though, and we're going to hunt them down on my next visit. Thank you for reading, and if you'd like to hear other adventures of mine from Fresno, let me know. Legitimately, trailers.
There's all like little previews of like what could be.
I want to know about the Grim Reaper guy. Like,
the Grim Reaper boy?
How did he know he was the Grim Reaper? And if
Probably a lot of drugs.
Yeah, like if he was the Grim Reaper, did you ever ask him like, what do you do when I'm not around you? Do you like kill people? Like, how do you do your job? Even this guy, like, okay, so you're a demon. Like, what? Like, you're gonna go lead an army to hell? Are you prepared for this task? Like, have you trained to lead a hell army? Or you just feel like you're going to naturally fit into that role?
They're valid questions. They're valid questions, I have to say.
I would have many questions. I would be like, okay, I'm not going to say that you're not a demon lord, but like, talk to me about this. Like, what was the,
Yeah, what's the politics? Like, what, like, is this like Adventure Time status? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah,
like,
what's going on? Like, your dad. So Dracul, is he like higher ranking?
Is Dracul cool?
Yeah. Like, how cool is Dracul?
Yeah, how cool is Dracul?
I looked up Dracul. Only thing that comes up is just Dracula.
Maybe that's just like a name. Like, maybe that's just like a spooky
Maybe
name.
He's the coolest.
Dracul,
How
guys.
cool? Dracul.
Oh, God, dude.
All right. Next one is all about potential cult activity by Ayala. I'm going to be honest here and say I'm not a skeptic. I'm kind of in the same camp as Alex in that I'm not completely so far gone as Mathis,
wizard,
which is
impresario, enlightened legend.
I'm not so completely as far gone as Mathis, but I'm not 100% Jesse about it at all. So that's, I guess you're sat in right now. I'm gone. I'm too far gone.
I'll take it.
I mean, Mathis is lost. He's lost to reason. You're one bad day away from being a flat earther. So,
oh my God, come on. You got to give me better credit than that.
I will not.
We covered that
I will
shit
not.
in like,
I will.
All
it takes is one really good book, and you'll be like, you know what?
Dude, no, this makes sense. This makes sense, dude.
The only thing I'm so far gone is aliens. And we'll talk about it in the minisode. Harvard announced yesterday or 2 days ago that they are beginning to look for extraterrestrial life properly now. They began a program.
Oh, properly. Right. The last several years was all BS.
When were they looking for alien extraterrestrial life in the past few years, other than maybe sending out a signal every so often? Exactly. They haven't. They are now. Anyway, we're continuing.
Got me, I guess.
This is something that happened to me around 17 years ago. And despite multiple attempts to research what could have happened, I haven't been able to find anything. If any of this sounds familiar to you, please reach out, as this is a mystery that has haunted me and my family since we witnessed it. When I was a teenager, I used to enjoy going on random drives with my mother and her partner. We would get into the car, put on music, and drive around the local area. This was often done at night, as we found it quite calm and relaxing to be driving in the dark. On this particular night, we were driving in an area that we visited regularly, and we noticed some strange lights in the distance. We realized that the lights were down a small dirt-covered road we hadn't driven down before. This was a public access road. There were no signs stating that this was private property. There was no gate. It was just an open road. We decided to do some investigating and turn down that particular road. As we started down, the lights were closer and we noticed one larger light in the center. We kept going, unsure of what it could have been. As we got closer, we only became more confused and we turned off our music as not to draw attention to ourselves. In the center of a clearing at the end of the road, there was a large glowing orb. It looked like a huge balloon that they had inflated, covered with a cloth, and then tied the cloth to the ground with ropes to stop it from floating. We noticed that there were some individuals in what looked like inflatable suits with smaller glowing orbs covering their heads. They were moving slowly around the larger orb, almost as if they were in some kind of trance.
What the fuck?
Yeah, this is very bizarre image that I have in my head. Like these just like it almost reminds me of Spaceballs.
How
with
many
the giant,
people do
like,
you think
ball
this
helmet.
is?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm trying to
These were
visualize this, and I don't know that I can.
I can picture the like balloon thing. I can see that. I just need to know the scale of
Wait,
this.
what does inflatable suit mean? Like that's, I guess, where I'm
Like
lost.
you know,
Because
like
puffy
a
suits?
yeah, like
yeah,
a
that's what, is it like a puffy suit? Because I can picture the glowing orb covering their head.
yeah, like a spaceman suit kind
Like
of
one
vibe.
of puffy
like,
jackets,
yeah,
like
yeah.
a puffy, like
that funny robot
Missy Elliott
from
jacket?
the San Francisco Japanese Disney movie. You know, the one with the little. He's like a little white robot. You know what I'm talking about? Come on.
Eve
the
6.
Baymax.
yeah,
Hero
Baymax.
6.
Eve 6 from Baymax. Eve 6?
Okay, yeah.
What are we talking?
What is the name of that thing?
Eve 6? Isn't that the band that does I'm Blue?
Robot 96. Robot.
It's like Hero 6. It's like Hero 6.
Big Hero
What is
6.
it? Big Hero 6. There
What
you
is
go.
Eve 6 is a band.
Who the fuck
I
is
think.
that?
It's a
What
band
is that?
from the 90s.
Is that what you were listening to when you were playing Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
You're
I mean,
listening to Eve
obviously.
6?
Eve 6? Inside
so we
Out?
rolled-
Here's to the Night? I don't even know who the fuck
Are
that
you
is.
like trying to find Eve 6 online?
I'm just
just
guys
can't-
like, I would swallow my brain. I would, that guy.
Oh, maybe.
think that's what it is.
Inside Out, I find nothing but. Yep, that's the one.
That's it. There you
Literally,
go.
the album cover is a heart in a blender from the lyric, "One up in my blender, heart in a blender."
Yeah.
All right, I got to continue. We rolled our... I don't even know what song you're talking about, so I'm lost on the reference.
Rendezvous and I'm through with you.
Maybe I need to hear it.
Hear
because that
words
is
and
not...
clips and phrases.
No, yeah, I don't know what you... I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
I bet if we like sang the Weird Al version, you'd be like, oh, that song.
That might be possible.
I believe that.
I did love
believe
Weird
that.
Al.
Yeah, you were listening to it while you were at Anime Club. Yeah.
Find nothing but faith in aliens.
Oh my God. All right. So we rolled down our windows slightly as we tried to figure out what we were seeing. We didn't know if this was some kind of show we weren't aware of, or if this was something we were just not supposed to
Just
see.
the Flaming Lips practicing for a concert.
We didn't want to get out of the car if we weren't welcome, so we decided to wait a couple of moments and see what happened. As we rolled down the windows, we noticed a faint chanting coming from the clearing. That's probably
I
not
would
what you
be
want to hear when
Fucking
you're out.
out of here.
You're like, and that's it. I'm out. Goodbye. As we watched, we noticed there were a small number of people around who were not in the inflatable suits. One of these people eventually turned to face us. As he noticed us, a couple of the other people present also began to turn and notice we were there. They began to slowly approach our car, and they didn't appear to be welcoming us to the show. The feeling we had was that we were trespassing, and they intended to make us leave. During their approach, we saw another unsuited group closer to the orb, and they were carrying another individual towards it. For what purpose, we didn't want to know. The group of people got closer to us, so we reversed, turned around, and drove out of there as fast as we could. As we left, I turned around in the back seat and could see the orb had been released and was floating higher, with
Oh
the
my
crowd
God.
staring up at it and the suited figures dancing around it, as well as the group who had approached us now running as if they were trying to catch up to us. That
What the
that would scare the shit out of me.
That's
If,
like the inciting incident of like Resident Evil 9.
yeah, right. That's going to be you walking in on something like that. Oh, we managed to get away without having to talk to any of those people. But to this day, we do not know what it was, what they were doing, and what they would have done if they caught us. All we know for sure is that we were not welcome and we were not supposed to have seen that. I can't help but wonder what happened to the person they carried towards the orb. P.S. When I first wrote this out, I called my mother and asked her to tell me what we had seen that night. I didn't tell her I'd written this. I just asked her to tell me in her own words what we saw. Her partner was sat with her and he confirmed that what she was saying. It lined up perfectly with what I had written. If it wasn't for the fact that all three of us had witnessed it and we were able to recall the same details separately without the inclusion of confirmation bias, I'd have been convinced that it was a dream. And that's that story. That's a very creepy story.
The thing about that one is like, there's a lot going on. You know what I mean?
It's very clearly people, since there were people around that tried to chase them down. I guess the part I'm having a hard time visualizing is like, what did these inflatable suits look like? Because I have Baymax in my head now. Like, that's all I'm seeing is this big puffed out people with like these Spaceball helmets
the
on.
Monsters Inc. Guys.
Oh yeah. I just like it, like this. I feel like releasing a balloon of light into the sky is not necessarily that weird.
If
Lots of people do very similar things.
Total horseshit, right? If this is like a person telling you a story completely true as they experienced it,
right?
The thing that's fun about this is that there's probably a very, very specific explanation for what the fuck it was. You know what I mean? And I wish that we could like figure that out. I love the idea that like they're the only people who saw it, but I feel like, I mean, depending on how many people it was, I'd love to know more. I'd love a little follow up on this one. If you hear this, please like let me know a little bit more about it. If you're listening to this show, because I would love to figure out what the fuck that is. I would love to like solve it. I'd love to know a little bit more about where you were and stuff like that, just so we could like nail it down.
Yeah, I agree. And if you can keep a private Chilluminatipod at Gmail, you can send stories out that way as well.
I'm just interested. Yeah.
Yeah, we just want to know. It'd be great to know more. Yeah, but that's it for that encounter. I really like that story a lot. It's very, very bizarre.
Very specific details.
Yes. I'm going to give the next one to Alex. Going to round back out to you, and then Jesse will wrap it out with the last one.
I'll wrap it out. If it's a wrap, I'm going to be real upset.
I want you to wrap it out. No, I want you to wrap out the whole
My
thing.
name is
Great.
Jesse, and I'm here to say I do not believe in aliens in a major way. All right.
Rippity rap. A rapping ran. Rap.
I'm an old gold tooth. Okay. This is a few short encounters from Sultan 112-800. Hello, Chilluminats. I'd just like to preface this by saying, like many others sharing their stories on this Reddit, that I'm much like Jesse in my approach to the paranormal.
Thank you.
With that being said, though, there have been 2 times that I've witnessed things I simply could not explain satisfactorily, and I'm going to share them here. My first encounter with something I couldn't explain was when I was quite young, maybe 7 or 8 years old. My childhood friend and I had spent the afternoon and evening playing with Legos and Nerf guns and whatever else as young boys are wont to do. My father decided to take us to Wendy's as sort of treat for dinner, and my brother came along too. It was dark. The trip back home was when I witnessed something. I was looking out the car window skyward for whatever reason, despite the night sky being obscured with cloud cover. While driving through the neighborhood back home, I saw what appeared to be orange lightning in the sky. It wasn't as bright, nor did it seem to actually move as quickly as lightning should, but for a brief moment, it illuminated the clouds around it, which seemed to be swirling around where the lightning had flashed from. There was no sound of thunder, and I seemed to have been the only one in the car to witness it. While I cannot explain this, I believe it may have been the result of an overactive imagination. That's like some Loki shit right there.
I don't know. I imagine there's got to be some sort of natural phenomenon where quiet, like lightning strikes might be able to happen.
I've seen lightning without thunder, but I don't know what
I was about to say, I think that is a thing.
Yeah, it must be.
I don't know about the swirling like vortex of electricity or whatever that other part.
That's just a tornado. Get the hell out.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really, where was
That's
this? True. We don't really know where it is.
Yeah, we don't know where it is.
Yeah. My second encounter happened many years after this, about 4 or 5 years ago when I was a junior in high school. I had just gotten home from school and took my dog out into the backyard so he could take care of business. Living in a suburban home, I could see the sidewalk from where I was in the backyard, and I saw a tall figure wearing an entirely white cloak and hood walking away from my house down the sidewalk. I didn't really think about it much. I watched for a few seconds and moved on. When I had actually processed what I had just seen, I went to do a double take and nothing was there. Looking down the street and pretty much everywhere that the figure could have possibly walked to yielded no results. It just vanished completely. I have greater difficulty explaining this one. That's fucking scary. But like,
yeah,
I grew up in a suburb too with like a yard and stuff. And every once in a while, something real weird would happen. Some weird thing would like sidle through the neighborhood. Some weird beast, some weird person come down out of the hills. Like, you never know. You never know. Any and all input is appreciated. And of course, permission is granted for my stories to be on the podcast. I'm a big fan of the show. I've been binge listening at work almost constantly for the past week or so. And I've been a fan of Cox and Crendor since I was in middle school.
Shout out to Cox and Crendor.
I knew you were a good person.
5 years
I
ago,
believe this. This is one of the ones I believe, actually.
5 years ago, they were a junior in high school, and they've been listening to Cox and Crendor since they were in middle school. Woo!
I just want to point out, yeah.
That's dedication.
We are closer than ever to being around for like, we're coming up on our 3 year, but or we're coming up on our 4 year. We'll be around for some people's entire high school life.
Shout outs to the Chilluminati class of 2022. Much love, and make sure to store your legal weed safely, lest the Bean Boy finds it.
We got to do a Bean Boy plushie one day. Let me say.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I think that'd be super
I'll buy that
sick.
boy. I'll buy that little boy.
We got to get a good design. I mean, those are honestly, even the second story, even if it wasn't a weird ghost or paranormal, just a strange man in your territory, in your zone, in your home is fucking scary enough. And I am hopeful.
Have we ever talked about Nuke's top fives on here?
Don't think so.
Nuke's top fives is like he's big enough that I feel like maybe some people are going to be like, this guy steals videos or something like that. I don't know. Somebody's probably going to say something like that on the subreddit. But what this guy does is he has like top 5 things in the woods, top 5 things on people's security cameras. And there was this one where this guy's like a vlogger and he does not do horror content at all. It's like not a thing. Very successful vlogging channel about driving around in a camper all the time in like a what do you call it? Like a Winnebago
RV?
type car. Yeah.
Okay.
And he was like in Scotland or England somewhere. And he was like, he couldn't move because his fridge was draining. And he like found this well that was like sealed up. And there was like this like bald, like old timey priestess walking through the woods at a distance. And he was like freaking the fuck out. And he has like footage of it and everything.
Dude, that's wild.
Just fucking amazing.
I love like shit like that. Like shit you see in the woods. One of my favorite, I think I've probably talked about this on the show. You know who Lestrade is, right? Survivor Man.
Yeah.
He's talked about some of the weird creatures that he's seen, like encountered in the woods and stuff that he's like wanted to hunt down and see if he could find evidence of. The woods are scary. The woods are just home to things that are just even normal creatures that can make noises that people, I mean, the red fox people think is like a screaming woman most of the time.
Red fox? Put your face in some dough and make a gorilla cookie.
God, I wish I knew. I don't have any references in my brain. It's so infuriating.
Alex, I feel like, is a worldly soul. And so he would know things from when, like, you know.
Yeah, like my parents were children.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I know that song. I know that song.
Do you know what it's from?
I don't off the top of my head.
It's from Sanford and Son.
Oh, okay. I know of that show.
Yeah, that's where Red Fox is from. No worries.
Okay, cool.
We're full circle.
We got it. We got me there, and that's all I care about.
Yeah.
I understand the reference.